Call the vote, please.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Aye.
Commissioner Skelton?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. Next item.
The next item is other.
Commissioner Ranzau.
I just have a question. We had two individuals speak to us. Are we supposed to receive and file those presentations we had earlier?
Commissioner, I think that's up to us, and if you desire to receive and file that information, you may make that motion. I did not desire that.
I see. Well, being new to this commission, I kind of want to get a clarification what was going on. Now, I will make that motion. I understand that some of the things said today by these citizens may not be things we like or agree with or believe are truthful. However, when it's just a concern of mine, I guess, that when citizens take the time and talk to us, we should at least give them the courtesy to receive and file. We are not necessarily agreeing, correct, with everything they said. So I don't know what the will of this board is, but I'll make a motion that we receive and file the comments from the two individuals, citizen inquiries.
Is there a second?
I'll second that for discussion purposes, because I was discomforted on a couple of different levels on some of the material that was presented to us this morning, but I wasn't sure where we were on that in terms of receiving and filing, and I'd like to have some discussion. So I'm not sure where I'm going with it, but I'd like to have us discuss it a little bit, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Skelton.
Well, quite frankly, I'm kind of, surprised, but I'm learning and trying to do new things over here. But, I don't know. I hear any speaker that comes forward, and it's all equally. My ears work as good as anybody's, and among different speakers, they still work as good. I don't know what the real purpose of receiving and filing is, period. I mean, I understand that it may be a formal receipt of the commission, but I don't find it necessary because it's an automatic thing with me. I receive it regardless of emotion, and yeah, I file it away in the back of my mind, but those are my comments. I mean, I don't really care, but I don't know that I find it real necessary. I find it to be an absolute necessity.
All right, thank you. Mr. Houston, there are no legal implications one way or another, I do not think.
Richard Houston, County Councilor, you are correct. There are no legal implications. The practical fact is that this becomes a part of the board's minutes, and so it's in your record. It's just
Okay.
It's merely a formality. Every item that you have on the agenda has an action associated with it as a matter of formality. If you decide this does not need that,
Okay.
then it doesn't need it, but it becomes a part of the record. And
So if we don't do it, then it's not part of the record.
it is part of the record.
It is regardless.
I don't know why we do it.
Well, maybe that's...
Thank you, excuse me, thank you, Mr. Houston. We have Commissioner Norton.
We don't redact the minutes. The clerk prints the minutes as they're transcribed. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner Norton. We provide verbatim minutes.
Yeah. And we do not redact or edit the video portion that we have in our archives.
That's correct.
I think it's a moot issue where you receive and file. Certainly we've taken presentations before where there's a data book or something that we would want to actually file, but I've always said that it's part of the record anyway. That's just an extra step that we're doing that doesn't really matter one way or another. If you want to simplify our meetings, you don't even worry about that.
Thank you. Commissioner Peterjohn.
Well, the question I have in terms of the record, if people present material to us, does that become part of the record too, or is that included in part of the motion to receive and file?
Mr. Houston, can you clarify that?
Well, yeah, I mean, if someone comes in, I'd be happy to restate it and maybe perhaps directing it Mr. Houston as county councilor might be the best direct approach, but I'm thinking of, in particular, if a citizen comes in here and presents us with a petition or a picture or a statement, does that only become part of the record if we have a motion to receive and file?
Well, that's a good question. I think the intent of somebody proffering written information to you is to have it placed on file. And so clearly if you receive and file it, then it goes to the clerk's office and becomes part of the record. If you take no action, then it wouldn't necessarily become part of the record.
Okay, so it does become part of the record in terms of the video and the written transcript and the minutes that we would approve at a subsequent meeting, but the other material might not, if we don't do a receive and file.
It would not if you do not elect to receive it and file it.
And Madam Clerk, is that the way you understand?
Mr. Chairman, the county clerk's process, from my understanding, has been to attempt to attain copies of any written information presented to the commissioners or held up and displayed during the meeting at all. So it is our attempt to have that on file, whether or not any action is taken on the item. Does that clarify things?
Okay, thank you.
But it's still up to the commission to decide whether or not to file it.
Okay,
I mean,
thank you.
the clerk acts at your direction also.
Commissioner Skelton.
Mr. Chairman, I think I just heard that it really doesn't make a difference. And then, if it doesn't make a difference, I think we need to, abandon that, which does not make a difference, because there's plenty of things that we need to do that do make a difference.
Thank you. Commissioner Ranzau.
And is that true? She just said that the clerk collects everything, but it may or may not be filed. Is that what you're saying, based on whether or not we receive or file?
I'm saying that you have the option to direct the clerk to file whatever in the clerk's office regarding your meetings.
And that's based upon our motion to receive and file.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So if we don't do that motion, that information that they have collected will not be filed.
No.
Well, I think it wouldn't. I think it wouldn't be filed. I think it wouldn't be deemed to be filed.
It would not,
It would not.
unless we make
Okay.
Well, Commissioners, I think that the presentations we had are going to be a matter of record because they were spoken to us, and I am not in any way wanting to tell any citizen they cannot speak to us. There are just some things that are said to us that I do not think rise to the level of a motion to receive and file, and that's a personal opinion, and I didn't want to receive and file these. If the commissioners disagree, well, they can certainly make the motion. And I think first we had Commissioner Norton.
Well, I'd maybe suggest that since we're having a little consternation on this, we're not going to solve this at the bench today. Maybe we step back and we don't have to solve it today. Let Rich come to us and give us a little more legal ease and work with the clerk's office to be sure we understand exactly their procedure. I think the clerk's office tries to capture everything that happens in this, either verbally or written, that comes before us. I think that's their job. I think if you look in state statutes, that's part of what they're supposed to do, is be the clerk of the commission. So I'd say we move it over to Rich, get a little more information, and make a determination at another time, either in a staff meeting or at the bench.
I think that's a good suggestion, but Commissioner Peterjohn.
I'm in agreement with Commissioner Norton on doing that, but I'm going to explain my sensitivity and my very personal reason why this is a significant issue and why I appreciate Commissioner Skelton's comments. I think receiving and filing is important. Approximately 5 years ago, before I became a commissioner, I presented petitions to this body that had, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of over 2,000 signatures on them. And subsequently, after that fact, I tried to retrieve those signatures just to see and find out if they became part of the record. And I was not able to do so. And I think whenever we have petitions presented to us and material presented to us, I think it's important to have it included in the record, especially if you have. And one of the reasons why I wanted it in particular was I literally had citizens handing me copies of the petitions that they had filled out, and they were saying they knew I was presenting it, and they were handing them to me literally as I was walking in the door of this building. So I think it's important that we include this, and I very much agree with Commissioner Unruh's comments that there's sometimes we get some comments set up here that some things I agree with, some things I disagree with, but I think it's very important we hear from the public regardless, and so that is why I seconded Commissioner Ranzau's motion, and I'm sympathetic to the point that Commissioner Norton made, maybe have staff come back and see where we are in receiving and filing. So I'm more than willing to defer this to a later date, but I think it's up to the maker of the motion to also agree if we're following parliamentary procedure on that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Skelton.
Yes, well, I agree with a lot of the discussion here today, and my opinion is that anything presented to this commission should automatically be a part of the record and minutes, and all documentation submitted to the clerk or commissioners needs to be a permanent part of the record. Thank you. Automatic.
Thank you. Commissioner Ranzau.
I'll just say the biggest concern I had was the second presenter, Mr. Rose, because of the issue. While I won't speak to the specific allegations that he made, the concerns with SRS and youth bill is something that I have heard from a wide variety of people, Republican, Democrat, white, black, people that you would not have thought normally would have agreed on issues. So, and I've heard this from such a wide variety of people that this is, and I've already spoken to some commissioners and some other people. I know there's some legislators that believe there's this issue. So, as I said, I'm not speaking specifically on the specific allegations as far as certain people, but this is an issue, I think, potential an issue that we need to be aware of, and I guess that's why I was most interested in receiving and filing these remarks. That's all I'll say on this.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd appreciate clarification from Commissioner Skelton, because I thought I heard him say that if people present information to the commissioners, or to a commissioner, I don't want to be in a position. I mean, if people come at the meeting and speak on the record, that's one thing. If somebody hands me a note out in the hallway,
No.
I'm not planning to include that
Right.
in any record, or if somebody sends me an email or a letter or a phone call in terms of including it.
Yes.
Anyway.
Clarification is people bring the information to the bench during the meeting, and that is what I'm talking about, where all the commissioners receive this in a public open meeting, and that is what I mean, sir. Just that.
Thank you for the clarification.
You are welcome, sir. Thank you for the question.
Commissioner Norton.
At this point, I'll make a substitute motion that we defer this conversation and item until we can confer with legal and the clerk's office to come up with a thought process and a policy that we can all agree on.
Substitute second.
Okay, we have a substitute motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, call a vote.
Commissioner Peterjohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau,
Aye.
Commissioner Skelton,
Aye.
Commissioner Norton,
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. And that does away with the first motion, is that correct? All right. Is there any other?
Other.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have